DB, how old is too old to play college football?
28.
Starting or graduating?
I couldn't believe this story.
So you may remember a used to be young wide receiver by the name of Monty Harrison, who was once committed to, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4 Nebraska coaches ago.
Yeah.
Which probably says more about Nebraska than does Monty Harrison, but that's fine.
13, 14.
Yeah, he was 2014 recruit in Bo Pelini's, would have been Bo Pelini's final class. And he went and played baseball for 10 years. I believe he played in a handful of major league games, but mostly a minor league player there. Just committed to the University of Arkansas to play football.
It's unbelievable.
At 28 years old.
So, you know what I'm more impressed with?
What's that?
His level of security.
How so?
Because I think a lot of people would look at it and be like, I'm too old to be playing against those guys. It doesn't get, I'm not, like most 28-year-olds don't enjoy competing against 18, 19, 20-year-olds unless, I guess you could say this is getting paid professionally, but to make a conscious effort to go back to college.
When he's walking on.
You have to really love competing.
Or maybe he really loves football and kind of wants to try and
That's
go back.
what I'm saying. Like,
wants to try and go back and get it. I think he was a second round pick, so he got some decent bonus money out of the deal.
Yeah, I hate to be in other people's pockets because it goes quick, but
no, I know,
and it's like,
I'm not saying he still has it, but
I do wonder why Arkansas, though, like in its totality.
Maybe they're the only ones that would take him. I don't know. Like, he's walking on. He's not a scholarship deal, so he's obviously just. And I mean, he was a really good prospect at the time. He was a high 4-star wide receiver.
There were a couple of guys that saw him locally that said, in our recruiting industry, that thought that they called him the best prospect that they had seen.
It's just a really strange situation.
Shoot, at that time, was it my guy Nate the Great? It might have been Klaus that said that, or Shafe.
Because you know how old Chris Wanke was when he graduated from Florida State?
26?
He was 28 when he left Florida State.
Okay.
Whedon was
that was Whedon. That was 26.
Whedon was 26 when he left Oklahoma State.
I know it was one of those W's.
But Monty Harrison starting at the age that Chris Wanke was.
Yeah, I don't know if that's ideal physically, even though that's probably your peak age, but you're just getting started to do those skills. Your body hasn't been through
that in a long time.
And I mean, not to get into NBA versus NFL or MLB, but rigor is a thing, and it's a real thing.
Well, and I will say, and I told you this off air, but I will say in that whole argument, if you're telling me, and I think you're telling me this among other things, but if you're telling me that there's a certain, like most guys, whether NBA, MLB, just Joe off the street, just do not have the toughness, mental strength, whatever you want to call it, the fortitude to want to go through what football puts you through, I'm never going to argue that.
Yeah, I
will never argue.
This is a different way to end the discussion. I always think all things being equal athletically, one sport is a lot less demanding.
Yeah,
so,
it's yes. Football is.
I don't know how
physically demanding.
I don't know what
that,
other 55 ways I could say it, but it's just
football is more physically demanding than just about everything else.
Yeah.
Again, you can make an argument for hockey, but I don't think that's on the same level.
Yeah, I was very disappointed we both threw out hockey.
I mean, hockey just blows my mind. It really does.
It's incredible.
The things that those guys are doing while just running around on knives just doesn't even make sense to me.
It's incredible.
I will never disparage hockey in terms of the physicality.
How about their hand-eye coordination?
Unbelievable. I can't even follow what's happening with my eyes.
So full disclosure, that might have been one of the most interesting things that you've ever told me, and it was on a humbug off air on why you couldn't, even though you like soccer, why you couldn't get into hockey.
Yeah, it's harder for me to follow. It's like just the pace of it, the size of the puck. Like it's harder for my eyes to follow what's happening.
And my response to that was, you weren't. I said, "Oh, I appreciate you sharing." Kind of, I was just trying to encourage you because you're being vulnerable. But I'm like, they almost ruined the game because a lot of people are with you, right? They didn't like the laser puck. but they did it
Yeah, the glowing puck to help people.
because they were trying to grow the audience.
Yeah, they were trying to get people like me who had a hard time following it or whatever. I don't know if my eyes are bad or if I just didn't.
There are people, listen, don't kid yourself. There are hockey fans, I think, sometimes that wait to see people's arms go up on whether they scored or not.
Yeah, and I don't like watching sports that way. I don't like being reactionary and not understand what's happening as it's happening.
Yeah, I got you.
And so I like soccer because it's spread out enough.
You said I can see the ball.
Yeah, well, I can see the ball. That helps a lot. And it's spread out enough that you can kind of see things happening in real time, where hockey is like super condensed in a lot of the action-packed sequences. Where basketball, it's condensed, but again, I can see the ball. And I started watching basketball at a time where it's like ingrained in how I process things. I didn't watch hockey really young, so that it's part of my DNA the way basketball is. So I understand that's certainly part of it.
That's funny because that's just the opposite the way I think. As in soccer, it's too spread out. I mean, there's just too much field there. There's too much green in between the players.
I can see that too.
It's just way too much going on.
I mean, well, so I was out
too big of an
because
area.
for if you like hockey, again, understand the context of what I'm saying. If you like hockey, soccer could come across as too slow developing.
Yeah, it's slower paced. But I was out at Union Omaha last night for the U.S. Open Cup, which was a super great atmosphere over at Caniglia. I hadn't been over to Caniglia in a long time.
It's beautiful.
They've done a great job turning that into a soccer facility. And it was a great atmosphere. There was 4,000 plus out there supporting Union Omaha. They had a lead for much of the game and then had that heartbreaking loss in the final minute of extra time against an MLS club. They were, I mean, literally just a few minutes of extra time away from going to a shootout. So heartbreaking loss there for Union Omaha. But like I can watch that and understand what's happening, even though I don't have a super good technical acumen for soccer because I never coached and never played it.
How many people there in attendance do you think literally left their Sporting KC gear in the closet to this time?
Rock the Union Omaha?
Yeah.
I don't know, because there were some people rocking the Sporting KC
Well, it's a
gear.
very popular franchise.
Yeah, and it's close, right? So it's the closest MLS team. It's high level. It's the highest level of soccer that the U.S. has, at least. I don't know, probably a good amount.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of people that, and I don't blame them. Like if you want to have an MLS team, Kansas City makes sense. But it also makes sense if you live in Omaha to be a
unless
Union
you're like
Omaha
anti-Hunt family or something.
I don't know either. Then you have to, I think, boycott the entire U.S. Open Cup then.
Oh, it depends on where's the new stadium. Where's the football stadium going?
Maybe Kansas. We're going to Kansas. Maybe
you better stop.
We're going downtown. Maybe
yeah,
they're moving.
maybe
we're moving.